Shadow Machamp going to return upper shield. We are going to return the shield on the drill run. We're then going to commit to the full counter farm down and we're going to be absolutely loaded. And if this opponent doesn't know about Legacy Stone Edge, my god, are they about to find out? Welcome back to the home of Shadow Pokemon. My name is Jamie Finn, 1415. I was the first documented trainer in the world to reach legend only using Shadow Pokemon. I've since done that a grand total of 5 times, and Master League Premier Cup is without a doubt a league where Shadow Pokemon run rampant. Today we're rocking my favourite team. We've got Legacy Stone Edge Shadow Machamp, we've got double Legacy Walrein, obviously Icicle Sphere and Powder Snow, and then we've got double Legacy Shadow Gyarados in the back. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1 we lead Shadow Machamp into Togekiss. Absolutely dreadful. This might be the world's smallest Togekiss, although it's still pretty dreadful for our Gary as well. We're actually ABA weak to Charm. We're just going to come in, throw the Aqua Tail for some chip damage. I'm just going to completely sack the Gary. We're sitting in a super rough spot. It's time to come into Walrein, absolutely pray and put all our hopes and dreams on its back. The opponent not wanting to get farmed down, switch out into Dragonite, and let me tell you, Dragonite is not a Walrein counter. We're in for double super effective Icicle Sphere. Gets the shield, I'm spamming out the switch, looking to catch, and just like that, we're going to use Shadow Machamp as the 3rd and 4th shield. We obviously don't want our Machamp aligned with Togekiss that is still alive, as we are going to be absolute food for that stupid fairy. The opponent throws the Dragon Claw, we get taken out, in comes Walrein. We are going to be able to farm down, but we are going to have to give up our first Protect Shield. We're now deep in the red. We do shield up the Dragon Claw. Our hopes and dreams are diminishing, but Walrein still putting up a fight. I'm looking top right. The opponent going to send back out Togekiss. I throw 1 Powder Snow and the Icicle Sphere. This will be knocking out or drawing the final Protect Shield. The opponent lets it go. It's Excadrill in the back. And in case you don't know, there's no baits on this channel. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not. They get KO'd through a shield. And just like that, we put off an absolutely incredible dub to start the video. Moving on to the next one. Shadow Machamp into Swampert, fairly neutral, but 2 better responses in the back, so stay in school, kids. Learn to count. It takes 5 mud shots to the Hydro Cannon. We catch it on our Gary. The opponent answers with Excadrill. Obviously not wanting this silly little mole to get aligned with our oppressive counter use. The opponent shields up the Aqua Tail. Choose to take in the Hydro Cannon. We are actually now in Rock Slide range. Shadow Gary, not the bulkiest. I allow the Rock Slide to go through. I'm going to come into Machamp. Upper shield. We can shield once. Counter farm this all the way down. The opponent very unlikely to return with Swampert, as we're absolutely loaded if they've got a flyer. If they don't know about Shadow Machamp's legacy move of Stone Edge, my god, are they about to find out? We full send the Stone Edge. It lands for huge damage. I look to snipe with Walrein. The opponent sends back out Swampert, and this should be game over. The opponent still has 1 Protect Shield. They don't shield up the first Icicle Sphere. Even an Earthquake, not going to be lethal from this range. The opponent actually running Sludge Wave. The big fat Walrus shrugs it off. We make the 2nd Icicle Sphere. This will be getting the final shield. Swampert going to have to throw a charge move. Hydro Cannon will be taking us out. We're just going to save our shield for Machamp, and it's going to be a counter farm down to the finish. We come in, counter farm down. We actually leave with a move. We can throw it at the Dragonite, but the opponent concedes the match. Moving on to the next one. Machamp into Gyarados, not ideal. I say switch into my own Gyarados, and the opponent answers with Ursaluna. Ursaluna is a park ground type, so Aqua Tail will be hitting for super effective. However, this giant bear has access to Thunder Punch, and that will be hitting me for double super effective. I am going to have to shield twice. However, I'm not really that bothered. We are going to be able to Dragon Tail farm them all the way down, and a loaded Gyarados is a problem for almost everything in this meta. We do shield twice, commit to the Dragon Tail farm down. I am down 2 shields. However, if their own Gyarados does return, we will be getting shields back with the crunches. Back out comes their own Gyarados. We go straight for the crunch. The first crunch does draw a Protect Shield. The opponent looking to farm down. We make crunch number 2. This should land for some decent damage. The opponent lets it go. Gyarados has taken out almost 2 Pokemon. I now come into Walrein. The Powder Snows are adding up. The opponent going to be throwing a crunch. Walrus still pretty thick, despite its pretty measly CP of just over 3,000. To be honest, I think Ice Ground typing is phenomenal. The opponent fires off the next crunch. I come into Machamp looking for the snipe. The opponent lets me farm down. Come on, trainer. Show me that Steel type. And it is Excadrill in the back. Machamp at the first cross chop. This cross chop actually goes unshielded. It looks like the opponent just giving up, and Machamp sweeps the back line. Moving on to the next one. Machamp into Florges, absolutely dreadful. This stupid flower is a problem for this team. I say switch into Gary. This also a losing matchup. To be honest, even Walrein loses. However, it is what it is. You can't win them all. We fire off the Aqua Tail for some chip damage. Florges, pretty thick. That essentially just tickles. However, the opponent lets me get to the second Aqua Tail. At least now this Florges is in a range where Walrein can handle it. The opponent actually gives up a shield and it's CMP. Absolute best case scenario. Gyarados has done its job. We can now send out Walrein, up a shield, and hope we can do something with the back line. If you've got a fairy in the front, I think you're most likely to have an anti-steal in the back. I come into Walrein. The opponent sends out a waterfall Gary. This is a pretty good matchup for me here. However, I'm going to have to pivot back out into Machamp as I am going to need this Walrein to take care of that flower. I'm throwing at the correct time, and you want to throw at 1, 4 or 7 when you're using 2 turn versus 3 turn. I look to catch a crunch on Machamp. The opponent full sends the crunch and that does nothing. The opponent gonna be getting farmed down. The opponent actually makes the Aqua Tail on 1 HP. Pretty dreadful, but still I'm not gonna shield. Aqua Tail just about takes us out. It's now Walrein with 2 shields versus the wild. We've already seen one Walrein sweep. Are we about to see Walrein sweep another team? The opponent's got Primarina in the back, and this is not fantastic. Again, I'm not baiting. I'm going straight for the Earthquake. The opponent lets it go. This now does put them essentially in Icicle Sphere range. The waterfalls are resisted. Walrein has a slight chance. I am going to have to start shielding up. The opponent sends the Moonblast. We don't get debuffed. I farm up as much as I physically can. Icicle Sphere will be knocking out from this range unless the opponent shields. They let it go. Back out comes Florges. I am going to have to invest my final Protect Shield on the Disarming Voice. We've seen this flower's pretty thick. They're almost at another move, so I am going to have to go for an Icicle Sphere. The first one draws the Protect Shield. Come on, Walrein. Is this Icicle Sphere enough to knock them out? Moment of truth. The opponent just about survives. They reach the move, and they unfortunately win a super close game. GG's to that opponent. So despite us only seeing a few battles and us seeing quite a few fairies, this team does have play, depending how you wiggle around it. In the next battle, we pick up a fantastic lead. Machamp into Hisuian Avalugg. The opponent safe switches into Dragonite. Due to that dominant lead and the fact I don't want Walrein on the rock type, I am going to shield the Dragon Claw. Really wanting to maintain alignment, I fire off the crunch. The opponent going to take their shield advantage. Gary still pretty healthy, so if Avalugg attempts to Powder Snow farm us all the way down, they're going to take a lot of damage. I am going to go for the crunch, even though Aqua Tail would be super effective fishing for the defense drop. The opponent commits a shield. The Legacy Dragon Tail tearing through this Avalugg. The opponent decides to dump energy, not wanting to get hit with another charge when they fire off the crunch. I come in to Machamp. The opponent has access to Avalanche. However, I don't think they've got it. The opponent fires off the rock slide. We tank that no problem whatsoever. We commit to the counter farm down and the opponent concedes the match. Moving on to the next one. Great lead. Machamp into Excadrill. The opponent pivots out into Gary and I'm super quick. Entering the mirror. You can see that Dragon Tail tearing through this opponent. I'm not going to shield the first move. The opponent full fires off the crunch. How I like to play this matchup, I like to take shield advantage. If the opponent commits a shield, I'm going to come into Walrein, look to try and Powder Snow, farm them down, and then when Excadrill does return, I have the opportunity to full send an Earthquake. Unfortunately, I lose CMP. You can see on the left, both my Gary and Walrein have 13 attacks. Unfortunately, with Shadow Pokemon, you've got to power up the best one you have available. To be honest, I'm not really going to see many Walrein mirrors, so that attack doesn't matter, but my 13 attack does really hurt. The opponent fires off the crunch, they get the defense drop. That's absolutely dreadful, so the Dragon Breath tears through us. Out comes Excadrill, I full send the Earthquake. The opponent shows no respect, I pivot out into Machamp, and fuck my life is Sylveon, so there's absolutely nothing I can do. I'm going to attempt to full send the Stone Edge. I imagine the opponent just going to shield it up, which they do, and unfortunately, the opponent is going to be able to charm down, farm down the remainder of my team. I die with 2 shields. Hashtag what a noob. Moving on to the next one. Machamp into Chesnaught, pretty neutral. Machamp does win CMP, so I fire off on 6, which is CMP, to the Frenzy Plant. The opponent lets it go. Machamp does survive a Frenzy Plant, however, I am going to respect it. The opponent then sends out Swampert. This gives me another opportunity to catch the charge move, so I count to 5, catch on Gary, Hydro Cannon not going to do a lot. In Ultra League, it's a pretty bad matchup for Swampert. But when you get into the big boy, level 50 Master League is even worse, as Gary's stat product is a lot bigger. The opponent full sends the Sludge, which did surprise me, and that did quite a lot of damage. I'm now going to return fire with the Crunch. The opponent lets it go back out. Comes Chesnaught, the opponent looking to farm down. Gary makes the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail is resisted. The opponent, though, commits a shield. They do manage to Vine Whip farm us all the way down. We've got the Cross Chop locked and loaded, so I fire it off immediately. The opponent gonna be shielding up. I then look to come into Walrein. I am gonna have to shield this up. However, they are now in a range where we will be able to Powder Snow, farm them down. The opponent's got Mamoswine in the back. As long as the opponent isn't on Stone Edge, we should be in an alright spot. I imagine they're on high horsepower, which they are. High horsepower still does quite a lot of damage. However, Walrein still pretty tick. I fire off the Earthquake. Both Earthquake and Icicle Sphere are neutral, but Earthquake is actually more energy efficient. You can see I had a charge move. I didn't throw it, and there's a good reason for that. I don't want them to come in to their Chesnaught, farm me down, and manage to throw a charge move at Machamp, so I allow Mamoswine to take me out. The Energy Dry Chesnaught does return, and it's an easy counter farm down for the finish. Let's go. Moving on to the next one. Machamp into Mamoswine, great lead. The opponent safe switches into Metagross. I'm going to look to chip him with the Cross Chop. It takes Metagross. 8 bullet punches to the Meteor Mash, so I look to catch it on Gary. The opponent doesn't throw immediately. However, I imagine they're going to be on Earthquake as a second charge move. Let's see. It is just a Meteor Mash. Psychic would have done a lot. However, most Metagrosses don't run it. I now return fire with the Crunch. Crunch takes them out. If Mamoswine does return, we should be able to reach an Aqua Tail. Mamoswine, super glassy. Aqua Tail, not the hardest hitting move. This is going to do a lot of damage. The opponent now down 2 shields. They're looking to Powder Snow farm me all the way down. However, up 2 shields, we're still sitting in a pretty sweet spot. I'm going to wait out my full timer. I send in Machamp. We are going to have to start shielding something, as I died last time with 2 shields. I'm not going to be that stupid. I shield up the Avalanche. The opponent sends out Waterfall Gary. I anticipated the swap, so it was actually simultaneous. Walrein going to be in a pretty good spot here. The Waterfall Gary a lot more manageable than the Dragon Breath variant. The opponent doesn't build up to an Outrage, so I'm going to allow the first Crunch to go through. Yet again, we get debuffed. Holy fuck, I was getting debuffed a lot. But it is what it is. I'm not going to complain. We fire off the Icicle Sphere. That still almost takes us out. The opponent going to fire off a charge move. We can allow Walrein to go down, and Shadow Machamp should be able to clean up this battle. I come in, counter farm down. The opponent comes in to the Mamoswine. They did bank a charge move. However, I still got a Protect Shield. We shield up the Avalanche. We're at the Cross Chop, and Cross Chop is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. So for those of you wondering about my elo, I started this cup at 2600. I had 6 sets. I banked one from the day before. I gained over 200 points, and I'm now sat in the 2800s. So we might accidentally hit legend. In this battle, we led Shadow Machamp into Dragonite. Absolutely dreadful. I safe switched into Gary. You can see I paused the turn, not allowing the opponent to catch the Crunch. The opponent shields the Crunch. They then send out their own Gary. This isn't a bad spot for me, to be honest, as our Walrus is going to have a pretty good time against this switch-locked Waterfall Gary. The opponent only fired off 7 Waterfalls. They're actually 1 short of the Outrage. The first Outrage takes 8 Waterfalls. But I need this Walrein to put in a ridiculous amount of work, so I'm just going to try and keep as much HP as possible. We return fire with the Icicle Sphere. The opponent commits that final shield. I'm going to fire off the second Icicle Sphere. This isn't going to knock out, but is going to get him low. I look to catch the next Crunch on Machamp. The opponent doesn't fire off a charge move. We can easily tank an Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail doesn't do too much. I look for the counter farm down, and again the opponent survives on 1 HP and a Dream. And again it's going to be Walrein versus the world. We come in, Powder Snow farm down. The opponent sends out Metagross. I need to be really careful of the switch. The opponent sends out Dragonite. We don't throw the Earthquake. They actually switched a bit too early. The Dragon Tails are going to tear through us. We do have to throw a move, so I take them out, trying to keep HP. We're at the Earthquake. Earthquake with non-stab doesn't knock out, and again the opponent going to survive on minimal HP. So the 2 teams that Walrein hasn't managed to sweep, our lack of stat product has really hurt us. If Walrein was like 3500, my god, would be a menace in this meta. In the next battle, we pick up a great lead. Machamp into Excadrill. The opponent safe switches into Metagross, and I answer with Gyarados. The opponent lets the Crunch through, which does huge damage. Unless they're on Psychic, we can easily tank this Gyarados. Tanks the Meteor Mash. I don't want to get hit with another, so I'm just going to fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail secures the knockout. Excadrill can't farm down, so they are going to have to dump some energy at this Gary. The opponent does send back out Excadrill. Excadrill's so glassy that even resisted Dragon Tails do actually chunk. The opponent fires off a charge move. Before we reach the Aqua Tail, we come into Machamp. I am going to shield once, counter farm all the way down. And then it's all going to be about what they've got in the back. The opponent sends out Dragonite and answer with Walrein. Walrein, just be mindful of the superpower. I am going to respect this superpower. Even if it's a Dragon Claw, we've hit CMP, the opponent full sends the superpower. This should be getting a Protect Shield, as the opponent's got to shield something. The opponent does commit a shield. You can see I'm at the Icicle Sphere. I'm actually not going to throw it. And the reason for that is I don't want to give the Excadrill a chance to make 2 charge moves against my Machamp. So we allow him to take us out. We can now counter farm down. Excadrill is energy dry, and again, it's going to be a counter farm down to the finish. And the opponent can save that shield for next season. In the next battle, we see someone else realising that Shadow Machamp is an absolute monster. I think this is actually a normal Machamp, but either way, counter pretty good in this meta. I take the extra, the opponent fires off the cross chop, they then send out Gary. I'm going straight for the Stone Edge. Does the opponent respect the damage? Unfortunately, yes they do. I'm now going to come into Walrein. I normally would mirror, however Walrein definitely don't want to get aligned with the Machamp. The opponent fires off the crunch, and again, another debuff. Holy crap, I think that's like 3 times in a row. Walrein though is going to be able to do some chip damage with the Icicle Sphere. We actually make another. This will almost knock out the Gary unless they want to commit a shield. The opponent lets it go and they actually throw energy. This is pretty good for me. Walrein has done its job. Aqua Tail takes me out. As this Gary is so low, it's a great opportunity to come in, get some more farm with my Machamp. 2 counters, take him out. The opponent sends back out their Machamp, and I'm going to outpace to the cross chop. Cross chop is going to more or less knock out from here. The opponent lets it go, and I actually catch the next cross chop on Gary. This isn't going to do too much damage. Cross chop does some chip. The opponent now sends out Dragonite, and I think again at this stage we're not going to throw a charge move. The opponent throws one. I'm just going to shield it up. We shield the Dragon Claw. The opponent still has a shield, so I'm just going to look to fast move beat down the remainder of the team. We simul KO. My Machamp's healthier than theirs, and we take another dub. Moving on to the next one. Machamp into Mamoswine. It's actually Mamoswine Community Day Classic this weekend, so a great opportunity to get one if you don't have one yet. The opponent looked to catch a cross chop on Dragonite. I didn't allow that to happen. We answer with Walrein. I go straight for the Icicle Sphere. The opponent shields it up. I instantly click no shields. The opponent is going to have to superpower to take me out. They go for the Dragon Claw bait. That doesn't KO. The opponent going to have to throw another charge move. And to be honest, I might as well shield this, as Machamp is really dominant against that Mamoswine. Let's see if the opponent wants to commit 2 shields. They do not. Down goes Dragonite. So we maintain alignment. The opponent's got a Machamp in the back, so we can send out our own Gary. The opponent's only fired 7 counters. This is just a rock slide. It's going to do a lot of damage, but it won't KO. We make the Aqua Tail. The opponent actually catches it on Mamoswine. However, that does almost knock out. I snipe with Machamp. The Machamp is pretty low, and we're almost at back-to-back cross chops. The first cross chop will be drawing the final Protect Shield, and why not go for the BM Stone Edge? I actually Stone Edge this opponent just to show him what the correct move is. I am going to shield up their cross chop. Stone Edge obviously resisted, but trainer, if you're watching, this is the rock type move you want. GG's, buddy. In the next battle, we lead Machamp into Dragonite. Yikes. Let's pivot into our Gary and see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent is staying in. We can easily tank 1 Dragon Claw. It's going to do quite a lot as we are quite glassy, but not enough to knock out. The opponent continues to stay in, so I'm going to look to pressure a shield with the crunch. The opponent actually lets it go. Can we Dragon Tail down? Yes, we can. So we've managed to flip switch advantage, or at least get alignment, however you want to look at it. The opponent didn't switch out. I now send in Machamp. Machamp not going to appreciate the Meteor Mashes, so I'm going to commit my first Protect Shield here. I'm actually anticipating this team is probably Dragonite double steal, so I think Machamp is going to be pretty good. I overfarm, fire off the cross chop. The opponent shields the first. I'm at the second. This actually isn't going to knock out, but is going to get Metagross super low. The opponent lets it go. At this stage now, I can shield up. Counter farm down. If it's Excadrill in the back, the counters are just going to tear through the opponent. The opponent sends out that silly little mole. I look to catch the charge move on Walrein. I'm unsuccessful. However, the opponent lets me get to an Icicle Sphere. We easily survive one Rock Slide, so we should be in a pretty good spot. The opponent looking to farm up to back-to-back charge moves. However, they're going to be pretty sad at the big fat Walrus's bulk. That doesn't take me out. The opponent now forced to throw another charge move. Obviously, it's going to take me out as I have no shields. We can come into Machamp. I've got the cross chop locked and loaded. I don't even need to hit any bubbles by Excadrill. Back out comes Metagross and we counter farm down for a win. Let's go. Moving on to the next one. Yet another dreadful lead. So we pivot into our Gary. Again, this opponent's staying in. We're going to do exactly the same as we did in the last battle. This opponent actually running a Purified Dragonite. Why would you do that, trainer? I'm so disappointed in you. The opponent sends out Mamoswine. They tank the Aqua Tail. That does a lot of damage. We actually make another Aqua Tail. Does the opponent want to commit a shield? Yes, they do. The opponent now farms us all the way down. They're super low on HP. I imagine they're just going to spam out an Avalanche. So I am going to send in the Walrus. And that will be double resisted. Let's see if the opponent does spam out the Avalanche. Yes, they do, and that does absolutely nothing. We Powder Snow, farm down. The opponent's got Waterfall Gary in the back. So Machamp looking pretty dead weight, so stay in school, kids. Learn to count. I'm going to catch a potential crunch on my Machamp. The opponent is a master baiter. However, it doesn't really matter. As Walrein is my win con, I'm going to fire off this cross chop at the Dragonite for some chip damage. The opponent does get the farm down. However, I can easily shield up whatever they throw. We're going to be able to Powder Snow, farm them down. The opponent goes for the Dragon Claw. I've got no idea why. You're not going to make another charge move, but it is what it is. Walrein now getting pretty low on HP. Can we pull this one off? I throw one Powder Snow and the Icicle Sphere. Again, one and the Icicle Sphere. Trying really hard to throw at the correct time, and the opponent doesn't shield. Hello, trainer. What are you doing? The opponent reaches a charge move. We've still got a shield. This is the easiest shield of my life. Again, they bait me. But again, you're not going to make another move. GG's. Moving on to the next one. Another lost lead. But we got two responses in the back. So let's see if we pull off another dub. We pivot into our Gary. And the opponent answers with Snorlax. If I had a 15 attack and I was using Dragon Breath would be doing more damage. I imagine Dragon Tail probably does as well. I've got a 13 attack. So I don't know, it don't really matter in my case. However, if you're going to use Gary, make sure you got a 15 attack. The opponent fires off their body slam. We tank it, we return fire with the Aqua Tail. The opponent shields it up. If they look to lick down, I'll make one more move. The opponent dumps energy. Gary, as always, putting in a phenomenal amount of work on the safe switch. We can now come into Machamp. I'm going to look to counter farm them all the way down. Machamp, not great against Gary in even energy. However, when we've got an energy lead, you already know I'm looking to Stone Edge. The opponent fires off the Super Power, looking to give us minimal farm. I'm not quite at the charge move, so I pivot out into Walrein, and the opponent's got Mamoswine in the back. This is going to be really bait dependent. However, we're not baiting. I full send the Earthquake. The opponent lets it go, which is huge for me, as at this stage now I can just double shield. Whatever they throw, we can Powder Snow farm down. The opponent full sends the high horsepower. They are going to make one more high horsepower. Again, I will commit that shield. Then when Gary does return, we're going to have to dump multiple Icicle Spheres at it. Back out comes the Waterfall Gary. Again, 1, 4 or 7. So just throw one and the spear, another one and the spear. Get them numbers in your head. I get really frustrated when I shoutcast battles and people throw out potato timing. I look to catch the crunch on my Machamp. The opponent actually held their energy, but they do have to throw a charge. I mean, they throw the Aqua Tail. That doesn't knock out. We've got the cross chop. The opponent probably going to have to shield this up. They actually let it go, knowing the Icicle Sphere will do more damage, but they've got 0 HP, so we Powder Snow farm them down. Moving on to the next one. Another lost lead. I think this is like 5 in a row, but let's see if we pull off another dub. The opponent enters the Gary mirror behind an energy. I normally never really shield in this matchup. However, I do want to flip switch. The opponent lets the crunch go. Of course, I don't get the debuff. However, I am going to respect this move. The opponent probably going to Aqua Tail me. The opponent actually full sends the crunch, which is great for me. We don't get debuffed. We are going to be able to farm down. This is just an Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail, I'm not going to cut it from this range. We do tank it. I've got the crunch locked and loaded. I'm looking top right. Does the opponent send back out their Dragonite? They do not. They actually send out Metagross. So either way, Crunch is the correct play. Crunch draws the first Protect Shield off the opponent. We get the defense drop finally. That does now mean that the oppressive Shadow Machamp is going to be doing even more counter damage. I am going to shield this up, As Walrein doesn't have a great matchup against Metagross, I anticipate the switch, so I spam out into Walrein. We are going to be able to outpace to the Icicle Sphere. The opponent probably going to have to shield this up, which they do. And again, they're going to have to superpower me to take me out. The opponent probably going to throw the superpower here. Superpower does knock out. The opponent has now lowered their own defense. I'm going to look to try and counter down a flyer. The opponent fires off the Dragon Claw. Come on, Machamp, get there, get there. Machamp manages to counter farm all the way down. We've got the back-to-back cross chops locked and loaded, and the opponent realizes it's over and concede the match. Moving on to the next one. Machamp into Chesnaught. So like we saw earlier in the video, we do win CMP. I actually take the extra here. I am going to shield up the potential Frenzy Plant. The opponent does fire it off. I'm then going to throw the back-to-back cross chops. No one wins CMP. Let's see if the opponent shields the first. They do not. The second will be knocking out. So I throw on CMP. It takes 6 Vine Whips to the Frenzy Plant. This is only a superpower, so no, I am going to survive it. It'll get us pretty low, so I'm going to instantly swap. We switch out into Gary, and the opponent switches out into Ursaluna. We can hit 4 super effective, which isn't going to knock out because Aqua Tail's pretty garbage. Thunder Punch, even worse. However, double super effective. It is definitely going to return me to my Pokeball. Down goes Gyarados. This Ursaluna still has around 40% HP. However, if you watch the channel, you know I love aggressive farm downs. I come in to Walrein. I am going to shield up the Thunder Punch and commit to the aggressive farm down. Walrein with its ice, ground coverage, can nuke pretty much everything. We do farm them all the way down. We know Chesnaught is still alive. On pretty low HP, the opponent sends out Excadrill, then attempt to catch an Earthquake. Not today, trainer. However, we're not baiting. Does the opponent respect the potential Earthquake? They do not. They get one shot through a shield. Moving on to the next one. Machamp into the Cheese String. Not fantastic. This silly Cheese String actually single resist counter despite being a steel type as their Park Ghost. I fire off the cross chop. Still does pretty decent chip damage. This thing is super glassy. I am going to respect the Shadow Ball. The opponent has no bait moves. I now send out Dragonite. As I committed a shield, I'm going to look to get one back. I do huge damage. I full send the Stone Edge. The opponent commits that shield. I now send out Gary. If you're wondering why I don't come into Walrein, we can hit 4 double super effective. I don't want to tank a superpower. The opponent fires off the Dragon Claw. I'm now going to look to throw the Crunch. Crunch will either draw the final Protect Shield or the Knockout. The opponent lets it go. Back out comes the Cheese String. I am going to be able to outpace to the Aqua Tail with actually CMP to the Crunch. I don't know who wins, so I just settle for the Aqua Tail. The opponent commits that shield. We've got a 1 shield advantage. I come into Walrein. My switch timer isn't up. I am going to respect a potential Focus Blast, and my god, the opponent full sends it. They now send out Gary. If you remember, I said earlier it takes 8 waterfalls to the Outrage. I know it's coming. You know it's coming. Does the opponent know it's coming? I'm counting the fast moves. We look to catch the Outrage on Machamp. The opponent full sends the Outrage. They hit no bubbles. That doesn't take us out. We don't get off the cross chop. However, either way, they're not going to reach another Outrage. That absolute savage catch should win us this battle. The opponent fires off the double resisted Aqua Tail. I then throw 2, not the best timing, but I think this game's over. I go for a cheeky undercharge, looking to farm them down. The opponent sends out Gholdengo. Hi Gholdengo, bye Gholdengo. Earthquake, massive overkill, and 1 Powder Snow is enough to take that game. So those were my first battles in the Master League Premier Cup with Triple Shadows. If you've got Shadows available at level 50, try them out because they're super oppressive and they run absolutely rampant in this meta. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battles mission form is down below. And a huge thank you to anyone still watching after half hour. Salute to you. I'll see you all in the next one.